Hello and welcome to Motorcycle News and welcome to the new Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. Okay, so welcome to Royal Enfield's brand new Guerrilla 450, which is hot off the press. Actually, as I speak at the moment, the bike is still under embargo and I don't have a full press pack for the machine. We've literally arrived at the launch, they've whipped the cover off and gone, ta-da, here it is, and you're going to ride it. So we're just at the lunch stop now, so I just thought I'd give you a few specs on the bike, just so you can get familiar. Because to be honest, I haven't ridden it enough yet to really give it a proper verdict. So what you need to know is in the middle, there's the 452cc Sherpa single cylinder engine that you find already in the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. Now both of these bikes are actually developed in tandem, despite the Himalayan having been out already for a year. Both of these bikes have been in development for around about 5 years. And there was always the idea that there was going to be a naked variant to go alongside it. And that makes perfect sense, really, when you think back to the old Royal Enfield Himalayan. We had the Scram 411 to go alongside it. So I guess this is almost like the modern day Scram, but it's a little bit more road focused than before. So, like the Himalayan that came before it, this bike produces around about 29.4 kilowatts. I'm not entirely sure what that is in brake horsepower. We can, of course, put that below if we need to. Seat height is nice and low. It's 780 millimeters as standard. And the bike rolls on 17-inch wheels. Now, it's a 160/60 at the back and a 120/70 at the front. And Royal Enfield are going after a really popular area of the market now with this machine. Now, obviously, Royal Enfield don't make any bikes that don't work in India. But obviously there are lots of other small capacity road focused naked roadsters now in production. If you think about Triumph Speed 400, for example, it's really popular in the UK. It's consistently towards the top of the sales charts since it's been out, and it's probably going to be this bike's direct rival. So where the Triumph rolls on Metzeler M9 RR sort of sporty road tyres, this has got a sort of slightly more knobbly affair on it. But outside of that, the componentry is really good. It's got a similar frame to before with just a few tweaks for a different head angle and a slightly different subframe to get a flat tank as well. But we've got suspension from Showa, we've got adjustment on the rear shock as well, and we've got a lovely TFT dash which is mobile connectable. So I'll leave it there for now. Gonna go put my kit on, go for a bit more of a ride, and I will give you a full verdict later on. So now I'm back from my day's ride, I can confirm that prices will start at £4,850 and climb to just £5,050 for the top spec colour schemes. This makes it cheaper than its closest rival, Triumph's £5,195 Speed Twin 400. So we've now finished our day's riding on the new Guerrilla 450, and it's been a really pleasant, lovely day. It's been a real challenging test for the poor little bike. You know, this is only a A2 license friendly single cylinder machine, but we've given it cities to contend with, mountains, and the weather. I mean, the weather's been absolutely lovely, as you can see, but it's been about 40 degrees since lunchtime, and it's taken its toll on the riders and also, you know, given the engine a bit of a challenge to deal with as well. But it's done so perfectly well. There's been absolutely no overheating or anything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the bike sort of section by section just to tell you my thoughts on each part of the bike, and at the end I will give you my overall verdict. So first of all, I want to talk about this engine. This is a 452cc double overhead cam single cylinder engine, and if it looks familiar, it's because it's already living in the Himalayan 450 adventure bike, which came out for the start of 2024. Now mechanically, it's exactly the same as before. Royal Enfield have altered the sprocket sizes a little bit, but the rear tyre is now a 17-inch as well, so kind of Ultimately, performance is very similar to before. Expect power of around about 40 horsepower, meaning it complies with an A2 licence without restriction. Now, as I said before, we've subjected this bike to a lot of different scenarios today, and ultimately the verdict on the engine is it does need to be thrashed, but that's no surprise because it's a small capacity single cylinder motor. But the good news is it is a joy to thrash. There's lots of revs to play with. It makes a really nice induction note as well. You can really hear it even with earplugs in. When you're sort of surging through the gears, you get that nice sort of growl, a bit like a motocross bike. It's good fun, especially around town when you're just sort of accelerating away from the traffic lights. Low down in the RPMs as well, it's actually quite smooth, which is a surprise being a single. Where it feels more single-ish, if that's a word, is at the top of the revs, where if you're at motorway speeds, you do feel vibes through your feet, sometimes through your hands as well. Long distance stints on the motorway, you are going to end up with tingly toes because you do feel it through those rubberized pegs. Outside of that, there are two modes on this bike as well. There's an eco mode and there's a sort of sportier mode as well, and they're controlled through the TFT dash. Now, to change those modes, you've got to sort of select it at a standstill, and then it takes 20 seconds for the modes to change, which is a bit of a faff, to be honest. 20 seconds is a long time. It's longer than some traffic lights, so it's not something that you can flick on the fly, which is a little bit annoying if you ask me. Also, I'm not entirely sure it needs two modes. It's a user-friendly single-cylinder bike designed to attract youngsters to the brand, and even in its sportier mode, it's child's play. It's really simple, really easy to use, and not threatening at all. So unless you're really, really passionate about fuel economy, because it's going to be frugal even in the sportier mode as well, I'm not entirely sure you need to use it. Outside of that, the clutch and gearbox is really, really slick. The clutch is dead light. You can do it on a couple of fingers, no more than that. And up and down the box, absolutely no dramas whatsoever. And you can downshift quite aggressively without any fears of locking up or anything like that, which is going to help out that novice rider. So another area that I want to talk about on the Guerrilla is the front end, because it's really impressive. It's really good, actually. On the face of it, it's quite basic. You've got conventionally mounted forks, you've got these rubber gaiters, which, whatever these are, which, to be honest, I'm not usually a fan of. But actually, when you're riding the bike, it's surprisingly composed. So I'll just run you through some of it. So we've got 43mm conventional forks. These are non-adjustable, but they are made by Showa. They've got 140mm of travel, which is obviously less than the Himalayan. Under braking, it's really nicely composed. There's no dive that you expect from some of these sort of affordable motorcycles, and really gives you confidence on the way into a corner when you're pushing the bike much further than it really should be pushed or is designed to be pushed. We were throwing it around all sorts of roads today, and it was absolutely great fun, and there was no dramas whatsoever. There's a 17-inch wheel at the front, as is at the back. So at the front you've got a 120/70/17, and at the back you've got a 160/60/17, which means there's a scope for a wide range of tyres if you want to sort of move away from the faux knobblies that we've got at the moment. Now, those tyres are made by a company called SEAT, that's with a C, it's not the car brand, and they've actually been developed in partnership with Royal Enfield specifically for this bike. Now, it's a relatively unknown brand in Europe. I can't think of another bike off the top of my head that uses SEAT tyres, but on our bone dry day today, they've been good as gold. No moments, no fuss, loads of feel at both ends, and really, really impressive. They might be knobbly styled, but you can really, get it on its ear, throw it from side to side, and have a good time riding dynamically. Adding to that as well, I should add, is the ground clearance. There was never a single issue with touching the pegs down today, which was great, always welcome, and that's despite the overall positioning of the bike being quite relaxed. While I'm sat here, I just want to talk about this fuel tank, which is metal, which is a lovely touch actually. I always think a metal fuel tank sort of adds a feeling of quality to a motorcycle, and it's also, helps with practicality as well. This is a nice flat design, but what it also means is it gives you a broader choice for things like tank bags. If you've got a magnetic one, slap that on and you're away. Now, fuel capacity has kind of dropped quite significantly from the Himalayan, It's now just 11 litres, but it's a fairly frugal single cylinder engine, so you're still going to get plenty of distance out of that tank. Outside of that, obviously being a naked, there's no wind protection, absolutely none. So if that's the sort of thing that you're after, maybe the Himalayan is one for you. But as a, you know, sort of easygoing roadster, that position is really, really gentle. And what helps with that as well is the rider triangle. You know, Enfield say they spent a lot of time trying to move the rider triangles more towards the bar, making you more in and more focused with the ride compared to the Himalayan. And while they've done that, it's hardly a race rep. You know, it's not wristy at all. The bars are really upright, and it's exactly how the riding position should be for a sort of easygoing sort of street roadster like this. And you know, combined with that easy engine, light clutch, brakes, as I said, just makes the whole thing so manageable. So one thing I should mention is obviously the seat is 780mm, which is fine for me, but as you can see, you know, it is quite snug even for me. So if you're a taller rider, it's probably going to feel a little bit cramped for you as standard. Now, fortunately, Enfield sell a ton of accessories for this, over 20 in fact. One of them is a taller seat, which I believe raises the pad by 20mm. So if you're a taller rider, it's probably worthwhile having a go with that and possibly making a purchase. So I just want to talk about the styling very quickly. Now I know that's a subjective thing with motorcycles, obviously you like what you like, but it's interesting on this because it's a departure from the norm for Royal Enfield. You know, you think of Enfields and they've always got that sort of a bit of a retro touch, and obviously things like the Classic really are proper retros, but this kind of takes a step away from that. It's trying to, you know, attract a new young audience to the brand, and that's because it's supposed to target things like Triumph's Speed 400, which has obviously come into the market this year as a affordable, accessible roadster for the A2 market, and it's doing very well indeed. So obviously Enfield want a slice of that pie. What I should add is this bike was actually developed in tandem with the Himalayan, which is interesting. So it's been on the planning sheet for 5 years. Whilst Triumph have only just arrived, and this might look a bit like a retaliation, actually it's been planned since before the COVID pandemic. Whilst we're here talking about the styling, I'll just give a quick nod to the colours, because obviously this is a yellow, black and purple bike, you know, which, fair play to Royal Enfield, looks different to what we normally get. We don't often get very colourful motorbikes in 2024, but this looks really different. And then outside of that, there's the colours for light blue and white, and there's also a really nice black, yellow and red scheme, which looks suspiciously like a Yamaha RD250LC. And that's because Enfield's designers told us that they wanted these colours to feel like something from the 70s and 80s, and you can't really get much more 70s and 80s than a Yamaha RD. So that's excellent stuff. Outside of that, while we stick with the styling, there's no rear light. The lights are as part of the indicators. Now, they do a good job and you can see them clearly. It's not my cup of tea, to be quite honest. I do like a standalone brake light on there. Leave the indicators just to do the indicating, I reckon. But, you know, they're in there. It'll probably appeal to a lot of people. It's not really my cup of tea, though. Exhaust is the same as before with the Himalayan, as is the circular TFT dash, which is connectable to your mobile phone. Now, it's a really clear, really clean design. When it's paired with a mobile, it looks fantastic. You even get your sat-nav in there. And sat-nav compatible dashboards are normally the reserve of motorcycles costing £20,000. So that's really excellent. If I did have a gripe with it, in some layouts it's so complicated or busy that you don't see when the indicator warning signals are on. So quite often today, a lot of people left their indicators on, and I suspect that's because the little flashing arrows on the dash are so small that you just don't see them in sunny conditions like this. So I think that's more than enough on Royal Enfield's Guerrilla 450. Obviously we'll get it back in the UK very soon and we'll do a group test against all of its rivals. But if you've made it this far and you've enjoyed the video, please remember to give us a like and a subscribe, and I will see you very, very soon. Cheers guys.